This is Credit Talk, brought to you by NewBusinessFunders.com. And now, for some street-smart conversation and education about understanding the game of credit so you can get money to fund your business, here's the host of Credit Talk, Troy Bulkey.
Welcome to Credit Talk. This is Troy Bulkey, the New Business Funders, and I have a special guest today. Her name is Alyssa Glutz, and she is a businesswoman and a author of a book called Color My Credit. Welcome to the show, Alyssa.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks for letting me be here.
Yeah. So what in the world? This is a neat book. I'm holding this book in my hand. It's got all kinds of colors all over it. It's rather thick, and it's got a bunch of interesting chapters in it. Mm-hmm. What is it that made you write such a book and gave you even the knowledge to do so?
Well, I've been a mortgage banker here in the Valley for about 14 years, and I've watched people's eyes just glaze over the years when I show them credit.
Right.
I commonly hear, I hate math. This isn't my thing. Just where do I sign? You know, we just can't be that way anymore.
No.
In this country. We have to kind of take ownership. So my idea was basically that one of the things that I see people say is that the credit report is so complicated and overwhelming that they don't look at it because they wouldn't know what they were looking at if they did look at it. So
right.
I wanted to just get them to the table, get them to the place where they were willing to start looking at it. And I knew I had to draw them in. 70% of America's visual learners. Mm-hmm. You got to do something that's blingy and exciting these days, and quick and simple.
Right.
Simple can be the most complex, thing to do. So, a lot of people when they think about a huge project, or a huge, something they have to accomplish, they think, how do I eat the elephant? How do I eat that whole elephant? And you take it one bite at a time. So That's my mentality with mastering your credit, is that you take it one crayon at a time. So it is a sophisticated method. I actually, it's great that coloring has become such a popular trend in the country, but it's also, it's so good for putting you in the right mindset for looking at your credit, because it kind of takes you back to this nostalgic place where things were simple, and it's, soothing and stressless kind of activity, for you to be able to kind of look at, and connect with what you need to do. So anyways, I do take this long credit report that's 7 to 10 years and sometimes 120, 150 pages. And I probably black out with a black crayon about 90% of the credit report right in front of them, because it's not that it's not important, but there is the last 24 months of information reported on the report is what is going to make the biggest impact on the score.
Right.
So I black out the rest, and then it sometimes leaves me with, maybe 5 or 6 accounts.
Right.
And so I'm basically essentially rewriting their report, with just the accounts that matter, and giving them a color based on the activity, action I want them to take for that account. Maybe the balance is too high. They need to pay it down. I'm coloring it red to alert them, get that credit card paid down.
Right. So you want to basically explain this like a child's storybook.
Yeah.
So that takes the fear and the anxiety out of it. Because let's face it, I don't think I've seen a credit report less than 38 pages. I look at them all day long every day. That's what I do for a living is get approved, or sadly 70% of people get disqualified.
Yeah.
And I have to take them through some kind of credit restoration. But my co-host, who isn't here today, Chris, usually fixes credit. And he refused to use the word credit repair. He used the word credit restoration.
Right.
Because it's one thing to get rid of the old stuff, the bad stuff, but it's another thing, or the erroneous stuff.
Right.
But it's quite another thing to do what I think you're doing, which is teaching people to sustain good credit and build good credit.
Create a new system in your life for building a financial legacy. And it's funny, I have so many girlfriends, and they look at me and go, I didn't know that's what I was doing. Am I building a financial legacy? I'm like, yeah, you actually are. So it's that key of kind of teaching, number one thing, teaching people a different way of looking at credit cards. I hear a lot, people say, they follow Dave Ramsey, and they say, I believe in no debt. And if they've gone through the program, they're really against me saying you've got to have two credit cards, it's 30% of your score. And they say, no, I don't want debt. And I'm all for that. No debt. I don't want the debt. It's about making Visa work for you, so you don't work for Visa.
Yeah.
And so you take a system where you open 2 secured cards, secured, unsecured, credit. They don't care.
Get a payment history.
It's payment history. And they want to see that balance be less than 20% of the limit. That's it. So 2 accounts that you have set up automatically to pay 2 things you already pay, like Netflix, $20 a month, right? Legal Shield. If you have nothing like that, Legal Shield is a great service, or one of those that's similar, Identity Guard, where it's a, credit protection. They're looking, you have access to attorneys if you had questions for that. And all you do is take these 2 credit cards, you set them up to automatically pay those 2, Netflix and Legal Shield, a month. And then when the bill arrives, you schedule it for the bank account to pay the bill off. And you get it into a system that's literally working for you. It can make 100-point difference in your scores.
Yes.
Just changing up that credit card balance. And these days, I just had a client denied on a home mortgage. I do mortgage loans.
Right.
And they just got denied through this automated underwriting system because they just changed the credit assessment within the automated system recently.
Yes.
For buying a home. And she was denied. It said, borrower does not have any revolving accounts. And those are credit cards. And so people have been through bankruptcies and foreclosures and short sales and all this negative stuff, but they've never done anything to drown out the bad with good. You've got to, even if you have the worst credit in the world, mark my words, if you go today, you open 2 secured credit cards, you set up this system, and going forward, in 12 months, your credit score is going to be high enough to buy a home.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's a short period of time.
Yeah.
You don't realize a year is going to pass in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And you're either going to be in a position to buy a home or not buy a home. And, considering that's the American dream, I think it's amazing. And, we talked about this last time, last show. People don't realize that your FICO score, that number is the most important number in your life, other than your wife's birthday. It's a very important number.
Don't forget that one. Yeah. No, it is Advantage. There's a lot of confusion because really out in the world, you've got creditors, people you make a contractual agreement to borrow money and pay back. They then don't have to, but they report to the 3 credit bureaus. Then the 3 credit bureaus apply either FICO or Vantage Score, which is FICO's competition that the 3 credit bureaus came up with to compete with FICO, but it never took off. But it's very cheap. Less than 2% of all lenders use Vantage Score, but it's so cheap that all the free credit websites, that's what they offer. Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, Credit, all those. That's Vantage Scores. They're not FICO scores.
I didn't know that.
Mortgage companies have to use FICO scores, have to. And they have to use FICO scores that are models from 02, 04, 05, because we have about 30 models for each of those credit bureaus. So anyway, important stuff.
This is amazing. Because what we always do when we do for business loans, our business credit cards and credit lines, we'll have the customer pull their own FICO score, or their own score, I should say, through Credit Karma, because we don't want them to spend any money. They don't want to have any hard inquiries. And Credit Karma gives you only 2 of the 3 bureaus. Yeah. But it gives you a foundation for us to base a pre-approval on. And then they do the application, and then they do then they do the hard inquiry, and then we know what they qualify for. So. Yeah.
But Vantage has a lot of things about it that if you pay a medical debt on Vantage Score right now, it completely falls off your report. It's not factored into the algorithm. FICO takes into account, it's very, your credit score is based on the information that's reported in the last 24 months. So if you have something negative you've paid and it hasn't reported in a few years, but it's negative, well, they have to update the balance to 0. And when they update the balance to 0, they also update the date to current. And it looks like something bad just happened, even though you just paid it down.
Yeah.
But it's a bad account that just came back into that 24-month window, and then you see your credit score drop. Vantage, it goes up. Credit Karma, score goes up. FICO goes down. Your mortgage credit score goes down.
Right.
Opposite.
So I'm going to get back more into your book as the next section comes up, but I find it interesting that you look at history a lot differently than most people. You say that last 24 months is the most relevant to funding stuff.
Well, to moving the score. So when your credit score, let's say you have a 619. and you're trying to be above a 620 so you can purchase a home. You're going to focus on the stuff that's reported in the last 24 months. Most of the time, people have 2 or 3 pages of all this bad credit, and it was all stuff that happened in the height of the crisis, so 09 and 2010. And then they opened up a credit card last year with a $300 limit, and there's a $300 balance on it because they didn't know, no, you don't max it out. You're not supposed to spend more than $20, $30 on that card. Well, they max it out. So they go, oh, look at all this bad credit. I have a horrible score. And I go, just pay this credit card down $200. And they go do that. Scores go up 40 points. I'm like,
isn't that amazing?
You're done. Don't touch any of the first 8 pages.
Right. And everybody's got their hands on, $30, $40. So
yeah.
It's amazing. Just to think that it's that critical for $40 to make that much difference of buying a house or not. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Troy Bolke. We are here at KFNX, 1100 AM Independent Radio, and I've got my guest, Alyssa Glutz, who is the author of Color My Credit. And thank you. We'll see you next